Alright, this is part 12 of my walkthrough of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. In the previous part, I got the big Goron sword, which does twice as much damage as the Master Sword. I'm probably not going to be using the big Goron sword all that often in order to stay kind of in the spirit of the 3-art challenge, because the entire purpose is to just make the game more difficult for myself, and I just feel using the big Goron sword all the time would be too easy. I might bring it out on occasion, though. Alright, this video, I get through the entire forest temple. I didn't really find a good transition, so I just went ahead and uploaded the entire hour-long video in one sitting. You don't have to watch it all at once. I think YouTube actually has a feature now where if you quit a video and then come back to it later, it'll automatically resume where you left off. So I'm just saying, you can sort of think of it like separate parts if you want. If you want to watch the video but you don't want to see it all in one sitting, there are other options, essentially. Alright, so the next temple I need to go to is around Lost Woods, but before I go there, I want to make some preparations, maybe fill up some of these empty bottles. So as you probably remember if you've seen my previous videos, not only is Upon a Song good for calling the horse, but also it can be used to get milk from these cows. Or maybe they don't call it cows in this game, maybe they call it cuckoos or moo-moos, but whatever they are, you can use Upon a Song to get milk from them. And you've probably seen me go through Long Long Ranch and Hyrule Field and all these places before, and nothing particularly unique or interesting is happening this time, so I'm just fast forwarding through these parts again. Okay, so I just made it back to the Kokairai Forest, and if you saw my previous video, this is the part where you start off the game when you're a kid, and now it's been taken over by monsters in absence of the Great Deca Tree. I mean, what does a tree even do to stop monsters anyway? Is it like controlling the vines or controlling the gas in the area that repels enemies, or how does that even work? Alright, so once again this Mido guy is blocking your way. I don't understand why you can't just throw him or use your sword on him or something. And he's a little kid and you're an adult. How does he even stop you? Who does he think he's going to beat? But anyway, the way you get past him is you just play Sarah's song, and then he figures you're a friend of Sarah, so he trusts you, so he lets you past. I mean, what kind of a password system is that? Anyone is here, anyone can hear the song. They don't have to know Sarah personally to learn the song. All they have to do is be in the forest, and she's playing it all the time. How could anyone in the forest not know this song? Alright, so not only does this Deca Scrub give you Deca Nuts, but he allows you to carry more Deca Nuts. There was a similar Deca Scrub earlier in the game when I was a child, way back at the beginning, who let me carry 10 additional Deca Sticks. Alright, you have to select the right tube or else you'll go back to the Kokairai Forest, but I want to go into the Sacred Forest meadow here. Alright, once again Navi interrupts me and doesn't even give me the option to see what she has to say. She forces you to listen. is that? Is that a bull with clothes and a spear? So what happened? Is it that there's like a bull economy and there are bulls crafting spears? Or somehow they become intelligent and they got money and they went to a shop and bought clothes? Maybe it's that those are the guards from the castle. Maybe they couldn't find a job, so Ganondorf turned them into bulls or something. You know, like the guards were trying to resist Ganondorf, so he just turned them all into bulls or a slave or whatever to guard the forest. I mean, look at it. They have a spear. They've got the armor. And why can't I slash those guys in the front? I mean, it's not like their chest is all that protected. Yeah, I just blew that guy up. How does that feel? That's payback for back when I was talking with Zelda and that guard threw that bomb on me. Remember, he told me to quiet down or something? Why don't you quiet down now? I don't know if those are the same guards, but just in case they are, that's my payback to them. Uh-oh. What? There we go, that got him. So apparently you can hit him in the front if he hasn't noticed you yet. Maybe it's only when they notice you that they become invincible. So I think this is the only enemy like this in the entire game. What? All he did was lift his hammer up and I got blasted all the way back? You'd think if it was that powerful, it'd take away like 3 hearts. What, that bomb didn't hurt him? There we go, that knocked him out. So all it took was 3 hits from the Master Sword. Well, I guess 1 jumping slash and a regular hit, which is the equivalent of 3 regular slashes. Oh, she wasn't standing in the same spot for 7 years straight? There must be seriously wrong if she's not in the same spot for 7 years straight. I mean, what kind of person would leave a spot after only 7 years? You know, I just thought of something. That looks exactly like when I throw the Decanuts. Maybe she froze me solid, and then while I'm frozen, she runs away. Maybe that's how she disappears so instantly. I mean, look at that. Doesn't that look similar to you? So when an enemy is frozen as a Decanut, does that mean they're not conscious? They're not aware of what's going on? I mean, think of that. That means when I freeze an enemy with a Decanut and they die, they're not even aware that they got struck. That's like dying in your asleep or something. In a way, I'm actually doing them a favor. They don't even know they're being killed. There you go, you're welcome. Alright, so I'm gonna give this big Goron sword a try. He's in the entrance. And if I go back there, then I'm gonna have to do this over here. Look at that, one hit knocked him out. How powerful is that? Alright, so with these vines, you can use the hook shot to climb up. Okay, you can actually use your hook shot on wooden chests, and I think all of them are wooden, so that'll let you go over there and get this small key. So this is actually I think the first key I've gotten in the game, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of these keys later on. Now if you remember this enemy, normally before when you were a kid you had to wait for him to turn around. But with the hook shot, I don't know how it works, but for some reason, it can strike them in the front, so that makes it a lot easier for me. What is that, purple fire and green fire? I mean, I've seen red and blue fire, but I haven't seen purple and green fire before. At least not in real life. I think I remember seeing it like in Diddy Kong's Racing, if you've ever played that game. Thought of something. I mean, so someone goes and curses the family, and then says, "Yeah, I'm talking about the rich family in Kakariko Village." Someone cursed them and said they have to collect these spiders in order to free themselves. Doesn't that seem like a strange method to free themselves? Shouldn't it be like you do 100 kind acts or something? That was actually in a TV show called Fishbone. Like he gets turned into a dog and has to do 100 kind acts and turn back into a human. So it's on Nickelodeon several years ago. I haven't seen it in a while. Uh-oh. It's a good thing I had that fairy. Alright, one more hit with the big Goron sword and he's done for. So, I think this is the first time you see these skeleton warriors with the sword and the shield, but you're going to be seeing a lot more of these throughout the game. Alright, now I have 2 keys. I'm pretty sure you get a fairy here, so I was just preparing for that. Alright, I got my fairy back. Alright, now I'm prepared for anything that can come my way. I've got a big Goron sword, and I've got a fairy, and I've got the 2 long notes. Wait, no, now that I think about it, the show wasn't called Wishbone. It was called something else. I forgot the name, but it was on Nickelodeon several years ago. Yeah, Wishbone was that dog that would, like, read books or something. I keep getting these shows mixed up. It's been so long. Okay, you might remember this block from the graveyard. I'm not sure when I was inside that grave where I got the hook shot. So you just play the Song of Time and these blocks disappear. I'm really surprised that they don't use these blocks more often. Like, the only time I see them are parts in the game where I already have the Song of Time. Normally with blocks like that, they do it so you can't advance or go to a part where you're not supposed to, but I'm already in the Forest Temple, so I must already have the Song of Time by now. Did my Z targeting miss? I didn't know it could do that. Okay, so there's another spider up there, but my hookshot isn't long enough to reach him, so I'm just gonna climb up and hope that he doesn't attack me. Now, can you imagine if, let's say, Ganondorf or someone decided to set up a temple where the door is locked and defeating an enemy wouldn't get you out, you were just stuck in there? I mean, that might be a game ender right there. Well, of course, I guess you can just save and then restart, and then you appear back at the beginning of the temple entrance. Okay, so if I jumped out right now, I would have just fallen. Hey, that's a small one. I haven't seen those in a while. Not since I've been a kid, anyway. Okay, there's a target. I think you can hookshot over to that. This was a switch that made water drain. I think that's a first. I mean, I've seen switches that open doors, or switches that light torches, but I don't think I've seen one that makes water drain before. Hey, another small chest. Alright, I got another small key. I've always found it kind of ironic that the big chests that contain the dungeon map and the compass, those are optional, but the small chests with the keys are required. It almost seemed to me like the key should be in big chests in order to beat the game. But then I guess, or at least the map and the compass should be in small chests. They don't seem all that important. Alright, so now that I have 3 keys, I'm going to enter the locked door. And the reason you want to get all 3 of the keys before entering the locked doors, because there are 3 locked doors. So if you only get 1 or 2 of the keys, then you're just going to come up to a locked door anyway, and then you're going to have to go all the way back to this room, get the key, and then come back to the locked door. And we don't want to do that. So in case you're not that familiar with the LoZ OoT series or how keys work, for each small key can open 1 locked door, and then it's used up, and that's it. Now, each key can open any locked door except the boss door, but it can only be used once. And there are going to be a lot more keys throughout the rest of the dungeons in the game. Well, actually, every other dungeon has keys in it. Alright, so this part's just pushing blocks around. They're heavy, so it takes a while, so I'm speeding this part up. Well, it looks like he's really pushing. That seems like a lot of work. He's really going through a lot to get these medallions. It's for a good cause, though. Okay, so now what I want to do is find an alternate path to get up to the 2nd floor, so I can push that block on the 2nd floor from a different angle. Alright, I almost got it, so now I just gotta go around and push this block up against the wall. And now from here I can push the block over here in this, it's kind of like a hole almost, and that allows you to climb up and get up to the 2nd floor this way. Alright, I made it up. So those enemies with the blue fire, you can't harm them while they're in that blue fire mode, but what you can do is stun them and make them vulnerable to other attacks. So as you can see, either the Deca Nut or the hook shot will stun them. As usual, the fairy gives her unwanted opinion. Alright, that's the 3rd locked door I was talking about. Alright, I can't do anything in this room yet, so I'm just gonna move on to the next one. Alright, if you're playing along, you want to be careful not to fall in that hole there. That'll bring you back to the 1st floor where you originally fought these 2 guys. I think it was to get a key or something. Alright, at least now I don't have to worry about falling in that hole. Alright, so 3 slashes with the big Goron sword will take them out. Or since the jumping slash does twice as much damage, 2 of those slashes will work. Alright, I just got the fairy bow. I just call it the bow and arrow. So this is kind of like the slingshot, but it's for an adult. So I think the arrows go a little faster than the slingshot, and they're twice as powerful. And just like the slingshot, they're projectiles. They've got limited ammo. You start off with 30 and can extend to 60. And also, just like the slingshot, they're able to hit those eyes. Alright, so you can probably see what I'm doing. You just have to hit paintings with a bow and arrow while the ghost is appearing. And then when it's on the last painting, they can't change between paintings. Alright, so while it's vanished like that, I can't harm it. I have to wait for it to reappear. And you can dodge that spinning flame move, or you can block it with the shield, but after it does enough of those spinning flame moves, then it'll reappear for a second. That's when I can come in and attack it. Alright, I just got the compass. So I think the room I just went in, I was heading forward. So if you remember right before I got the bow and arrow, there was another room I skipped because I couldn't do anything in it. But now that I have the bow and arrow, I can do something. And I thought that last fight, the big Goron sword, was making it too easy. So I'm gonna see how I fare with just the Master Sword. I wonder if these Poes are actually deceased humans, like if they follow the same ghost rules. I mean, that Gravekeeper died and he didn't become a Poe. They have all the mannerisms of ghosts, like they disappear and they're found in graveyards. So my first inclination is to just assume that they're some form of ghost or a deceased person, but I'm not sure. They could just be like any generic monster that just likes to hang out in graveyards. Wait, no, come to think of it, the royal family, it talked about the grave and like their spirits are wandering here. So I don't know like what the prerequisites are to becoming a Poe as opposed to becoming an angel. Maybe it's like the evil people become Poes and the good people get the halos. So what does that mean? Does that mean the royal family was evil? Alright, so I defeated 2 out of the 4 Poes, and now I'm moving on. Alright, so I actually realized that there's another key I have to get, and it's just the bow and arrow that enables me to get it. So essentially now, even despite my planning, I still have to go backtrack all the way to the beginning of the dungeon, get the key, and then come back here. So this part takes a while and it's not all that exciting, so I'm just fast forwarding through it. Now twisting the hallway, that might actually be sufficient in itself to get the extra key, but I'm not entirely sure. I remember somewhere around the entrance there was another eye. Geez, but if I'm wrong about that and it's just something silly like some extra arrows at the entrance, like yeah, just like that, that'd be kind of irritating. You know what I'll do? I'll cast Naori's love spell, and that way I can go to the beginning, use the arrows, and then in case there's nothing important there, or even if there is, I can just warp back. That'll save some time. Okay, so there's the eye I was talking about. I just haven't been in this room before, and I'd like to check it out before I proceed. A recovery heart? Well, actually, that's pretty useful for me right now, but I was expecting a key or something good. Alright, so what's over here? Oh, I think this is the well I was in before. Yeah, it is. So essentially, this was just a shortcut to get in that room I was in before, and I just didn't get the gold spider last time. Alright, but I can return to the warp point. So using Pharaoh's wind twist the room again? Well, I guess that makes sense because it might cause some problems, like if you warped away into some certain part of the dungeon and then hit the arrow, and then, you know, I guess it just get confusing. Well, anyway, so I just used another arrow on the eye, and that straightened out the corridor, apparently. Corridor. Hey, look at that. I haven't seen a chest like that before. Well, I have, because I've played this game several times, but just in the context of this specific game, I haven't seen it yet. Wow, will you look at that? A big key. Or I guess the boss key is what they call it. You know, I've always wondered, how do creatures like this reproduce? Like, how do they keep going? What creates them? Is it like people die and then they become shrunken heads and they catch on fire and fly around forever? Or is it like there's a colony of shrunken heads with that have blue fire on them? Hey, I just found another way to kill them. You just use the shield on them and then they jump around like a fish out of water. I'm getting low on hearts, so now would be a good time to use the milk. just being really cautious because I don't want this Deco Baba to knock me back down. So there's a gold spider over there, but I'm really hesitant to jump on that pillar because I might fall off and then I'd have to go all the way through this path again. So just to be safe, I'm going to cast another, I think it's Naru Slav, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. Oh, in case you haven't been watching all the videos and you're curious on how I get it, it's in Zoro's domain where the whale is. There's this wall right behind the gray stone. It doesn't look like it's bombable, but it is. If I remember correctly, I think I got that in part 8 of the series. Alright, so I didn't even need to cast it, but better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so this is a new enemy. It looks like the enemy that falls from the ceiling, but it's not. So it comes and charges at you, and then after you defeat it, it creates these it splits into 3 parts. And if even one of the part grabs onto you, it'll grow back into a full part, and you don't want that. Alright, got another small key. And that's just what I needed to proceed with the game. Okay, so I'm just going back to the area with the locked door. And as you'd expect, this takes a while, and I'm going over the same ground I went through before. So as usual, I'm just fast-forwarding this part. So in order to get back to where I was before, the corridor has to be twisted again. Alright, so I'm just trying to get through all this as quickly as possible. Alright, so finally I make it back into the room I was before. But the key difference now is, well, I have a key. So I don't even want to bother with those enemies. Okay, the way you're supposed to do this is you're supposed to shoot an arrow into the fire, then the arrow catches on fire, and also hits the eye, which melts the ice, but I don't want to bother with all that. I just want to use Din's fire and burn it. So even though I wasn't using an arrow, just melting the ice closed the eye. This almost reminds me of Alice in Wonderland or something. I mean, look at it. It's got that checkered floor, and you're falling down a hole in twisted corridors. Whoa. So the ceiling just falls down. I'm just restating the obvious. Navi just said that, and you just saw the ceiling fall. Wait, did you just see that? The ceiling fell while I was in front of the chest. I actually found something interesting. Time continues to go on while you're opening a chest. Now, I just always assumed that time just froze. It was like it was paused in time because you couldn't be hurt or anything while you were opening the chest. There's no one attacked you. But this entire time, enemies could always attack you while you were opening a chest. It just never happened. Doesn't it seem like since Link lifted those really big blocks, and it looked like it took about as much effort, that he'd be able to move these small blocks a lot faster than this? Alright, so even though this one was a little more effort to fight, it's really no different than the other two ghosts I already faced. Well, except that this ghost is green. Green fire. How do you even get green fire? Alright, so you might remember this ledge from the beginning, but you couldn't get up there. So this just leads you back to the main room. And now that I've defeated 3 of these Poe sisters, the 4th one is there waiting for me. I wonder if I can attack it somehow. Maybe I'm just too far away. Maybe if I get a little closer I can. So bombs don't hurt her? Oh, look at that, it goes through her. Guess she really is a ghost. Okay, so this is the only ghost out of the 4 that you actually fight in a different way. There are these 4 ghosts here, and you have to hit one of them with the arrow. And usually the one will display some sort of different mannerisms and spins around. There we go, did you see that just now? Spin around. So as you can see, swords don't damage her at all. The only way to damage her is with the bow and arrow. You probably just noticed her spin around right now. So I've hit her with 2 shots with the bow and arrow so far, right? That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. Alright, that's 6, and that finally got her. If I was using the big Goron sword, it would have only taken 2 hits. Well, I mean, if I was using a slash for one of them. You know, the jumping slash that does twice as much damage. Oh, so this is kind of funny. It lifted up with me on it. Oh, look at that. Alright, so like I mentioned, I've beaten this game several times, but I still have no idea how this puzzle works. So you're just going to bear with me for a little. I'm going to fast forward this for you. But now I'm just going to try to get through this puzzle. Alright, so I opened one switch that seems to open a cage somewhere. Pressed another switch, so I'm making some progress. You know, come to think of it, I think this is pretty much the only puzzle in this game that I don't know how it works. That I just, you know, I'm just baffled at this point. I just push the blocks, and I hope that I come across the right room, or I hope that I do it correctly. I usually do it eventually. I mean, it's not super difficult. It doesn't take all that long, but it's just kind of tedious, like a trial and error process, essentially. Alright, I'm just looking for a room that I haven't been in yet. And now it doesn't have bars blocking it. Alright, I think that... Did that do it? Alright, that did it! Here we go. It's boss time. So I remember for the very first boss, you didn't fight the boss right away. You had to like look in a specific spot to fight her. And maybe it's similar with this. I don't see the boss anywhere. I mean, come on, why would they have a big place like this but no boss? The boss has to be here. There we go, I had to exit. What? Ganondorf? But we're fighting him in the first temple now? Is he, what is he gonna, maybe he's gonna sick some monster, oh. Phantom Ganon? So what, is it like this ghost, or it's not the real him? Well anyway, so I'm fighting this Phantom Ganon. So it looks like he's gonna come out of one of these paintings here. And I'm gonna be ready for him. So as usual, they make it so the item you obtain in the dungeon is relevant to facing the boss. Like they did with the first one, where you use the slingshot to fight Goma, or how you throw the bombs in the mouth of that Dodongo King, or with that barnacle boss, you throw the boomerangs at him. Uh-oh, I missed him that time. No, I was lucky there. So I guess his attack, if you don't hit him with the arrow in time, he throws electricity and it creates this 8-way electric attack on the floor. Answer his magic attack with one of your own. And I actually want to keep track of how much damage I'm doing. So I did a jumping slash, that's 2 damage. No, not including the times I hit him with the arrow. Another jumping slash, that's 4 damage. 5 damage. I lost count now, forget it. Ganondorf talking to me now? Oh, yep, it is, says the real me. The gap between dimensions. So Ganondorf just has the power to banish creatures in the gap between dimensions. I mean, is there anything stopping him from banishing me in the gap between dimensions, or wherever that is? And what is this other dimension? Maybe it's like the Dark World, you know, from the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Or maybe it's like the Twilight Realm from Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. I just have to know, what's this other dimension he's talking about? If there's a gap between dimensions, there has to be another dimension. Okay, so you might remember a cutscene similar to this at the end of, I think it was my 8th video. So Sarah's a sage now? I mean, what are the prerequisites to becoming a sage? She doesn't seem all that old. Well, actually, I don't know how old she is. Because 7 years passed and she looks the same. Okay, so as you can see, there are different, like medallion-shaped things, so you just have to go around and collect all of them. I've already gotten 2 of them. So each of these medallions represents a different element, and each medallion also has its own sage and its own temple. And I've got to go through all of them. Is that a nose? The nose with leaves on it. Things sure do grow fast around here. what the lifespan of a Kokairai is like. I mean, do they live like 80 or 90 years like a human, and do they just have like children corpses, or do they only live like maybe 30 years or something? So I think, I'm not exactly sure, but they released this Zelda timeline, and I think this war they're talking about actually refers to some imprisoning war or something that happened, that they mentioned in like a previous game. I really don't really know what I'm talking about. I'd have to look this stuff up. Alright, so I got through the forest temple. It took a while, but thank you for bearing with me on that. Thank you for getting to the end of the video. So in the next video, I'll take on the fire temple. Alright, see you then. Well, that's if you're still watching now and you wanna watch the next video.